You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our favourite shows of the year to produce. It is IPL preview time. We've got 10 teams worth of action. We're going to talk you through them all. We're going to tell you what you need to know ahead of this year's tournament. And boy, oh boy, am I looking forward to it. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How you doing, Ross Legg?
I'm very well, mate. And look, we've gone backgrounds. We've actually put our shirts up. We're the most budget production going, but it's looking great.
We've got Max Rowe Brown, Chennai Super Kings super fan.
Yeah, I haven't got the background going. It's still as shit as normal, but I am wearing a CSK top, so you know I'm bringing something to the party.
And we've got a recovering Dan Weston, who's been a little bit unwell this week, but is joining us for this podcast, lying down to provide his insight. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm a little bit better than I was over the last few days, that's for sure. When I was actually stuck in one position for 3 days, and now I'm lying down, and as you call it, Jack, I'm in the Roman Emperor pose.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of time for it, to be honest. I love a little bit of antiquity myself.
Who's going to come in and feed you grapes?
Right, here's how this is going to work. We have 10 teams to get through, so it's going to be a mega show. It'll be 2 shows if you're watching on audio or listening on audio, you know, however you like to play that. If you're on YouTube, it'll be 1 show per team. It'll be about 15, 20 minutes per team. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we've decided upon an order. What we did was we rounded up our Patreons, of which you can become one from just £5 a month over at patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. And we asked them to rank the teams participating in this year's IPL in order of first to last in the group stage. What we're going to do is go through each team from the team ranked worst by our Patreons to the team ranked best. And I tell you, there are some big surprises along the way. We know the order, but you at home will not. And there's definitely some twists and turns are coming. We're going to kick off, though, with our vote, our Patreon's vote for the wooden spoon. So, you know, if you disagree with these rankings, I just want to hold my hands up now, so I had nothing to do with it.
Did you vote, Jack?
We're going to start with I did. We're going to start with the worst team in this year's IPL, in the 2023 IPL. Max Rowe Brown, who is it?
Hello. The worst team in the IPL 2023, who will inevitably win IPL 2023, is the Kolkata Knight Riders. They are winners in 2012 and 2014. And this lowly side, gentlemen, hold the record for the longest winning streak by any Indian team in T20s. I don't know if you were aware of that fact, but they did that in 2014. The back end of the IPL, followed by the Champions League, where they swept all the sides. So, maybe pedigree will help them out, despite their lowly ranking from our dear Patreons. They are coached by Chandrakant Pandit and captained by Shreyas Iyer, the man once touted to be the next Virat Kohli. First off, we should say that for each team, we've got a little fact. We always have a fact, don't we?
Yeah.
We're sponsored by the Indian Tourist Board. People have to remember that. Last time it was kind of famous destinations. Other times it was kind of facts about the city. What have we got this time, Max?
We've had good facts along the way. This time we're going animals. So it's an animal that is from the area, but could be related to the side. You know, use whatever kind of mental gymnastics you want to make this one fit. So for Kolkata, for example, you might think the very obvious and sensible route to go down, given that Kolkata is based in West Bengal, is the Bengal tiger. But if you thought that, you would be wrong, because there is another Kolkata-based animal far more famous that fits the team far better. And that is Adwaita, the famous Aldabra giant tortoise, who lived at the Alipore Zoological Gardens of Kolkata and was 250 years old when he died in 2006, and was believed to be among the world's longest living animals.
Until they found the ride.
Yeah, given this KKR side sports the veterans of Dre Russ, Sunil Narine, David Visa, Shakib Al Hassan, and Umesh Yadav, I think that feels a lot more apt than a giant cat. So I guess I've just listed the weaknesses of KKR, or at least some of them. I mean, some people say that strengths are their weaknesses, and I guess that could also be the case for KKR, right? Because I'd say Dre Russ and Sunil Narine are probably also their strengths, despite them being old. But should we be positive to start? Should we talk about what's good about KKR?
Yeah, can I say what I like about KKR?
Yeah,
I like Andre Russell. It's the game plan is simple. It's don't do anything particularly good and hope that Andre Russell saves you near the end of the match. And when it works, it produces some of the most spectacular cricket you can hope to watch. I reckon I would say 2019 Andre Russell as well, because this is a tangent. Best there ever was in the IPL. I think that was the greatest ever season. Maybe he finds a time machine, goes back 4 years, heals his knees, and we get that. That's what I like about KKR.
Any advances on Dre Russ?
Well, I'll admit right now, like I don't really get overawed by being in the company of professional cricketers because I've obviously know quite a few. There's probably the one person that I was like, oh my God, it's Andre Russell was when I thought that's 100 off. I was like, wow. Like that's like a superstar, right? So yeah, I mean our patrons obviously don't think much of KKR's chances. I'm not convinced, which we'll get on to. So I wonder if we should start calling them the Kolkata Tortoises rather than the Kolkata Knight Riders on virtue of the probable slow start.
Very nice.
Should we talk about their weaknesses and
well, I did have one slight sort of scraping at the barrel strength, because it should be pointed out that we're back to home and away now in the IPL, so we can have some home advantage. There is, according to the statistics, a slight to reasonable economy rate bias for finger spin at Eden Gardens in T20 cricket, but it could be a bit chicken egg because Sunil Narine has been at KKR since as long as I can ever remember. So it could be that Sunil Narayan's just been bowling at Eden Gardens for long enough to skew the stats. I don't know. But they've got Narayan, they've got Shakib, Chakravarti, if he comes back into what he has been in the last couple of years, not last year's version, but before that. They've got the middle overs, sewn up. They can keep that quite tight. So they've got something going for them. But
one thing I love about is the top six have got bowling options. So Venkatesh Iyer, even Nitish Rana's off spin, Shakib Al Hassan's if he plays as well, left arm orthodox, Andre Russell as well, and then Narine wherever he bats. So you've got 7-8 bowling options, and that's really useful for planning flexibility. So if they're smart with their matchups and they do their due diligence, I think that that might be one of the better top sixes in terms of bowling options, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what you sort of want first from your top six before bowling options is runs.
Well, yeah, and quick runs ideally. And I mean, if they don't play Gurbars, it looks really one-dimensional.
I'm not sure they will either.
No,
I think it will be Litton Das because they messed up last year. In the auction because they forgot that they needed a wicketkeeper. They got rid of the wicketkeepers they signed who were absolutely dreadful and also got rid of Sam Billings. And that left them with no wicketkeepers. So then they signed Litton Das to fill that hole, I suppose. So
Jagadish,
and they've got Jagadish as well, who's another option. But I suspect they'll go with Litton Das. They might go with Jagadish, and then they can play Shakib, for example, but my money would be on Litton Das. And yeah, I mean, it's the top order you're looking at, I suppose, is what you got. Venki Iyer, who had second season syndrome last year, so we've got a 50-50 shot of him being good based on the last 2 years. Litton Das, he's been pretty good for Bangladesh, but that's not the IPL, so we'll see how that goes. Shreyas Iyer,
he's injured. He's not going to play, I don't think. So Dr. Ganguly's been called and trying to get him in.
As well, because they've got such little bench strength. They've got, in my view at least, quite a few who just go on the bus, as Ross would say.
Net batters.
Yeah. So, that's the problem too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then, I mean, he's your linchpin in there. And then you got, you're looking at Nitish Rana, who was pretty good last year, but like can flatter to deceive. And you got Rinku Singh, and then you're down to hoping Dre Russ saves you. So it's very much back to what Jack was saying. Like, do nothing, hope Dre Russ saves you. The tortoise is very much apt for the batting lineup and the ages of the entire side. But I suppose there's one saving grace, isn't there?
They've got 42-year-old David Rees.
No, they have the Lord.
Yes,
the Lord Sean Thacker.
Yeah. That was. I mean, they traded for a couple of players, didn't they? Or 3 players before the season.
So most of their work was done before the auction. They got they got rid of Pat Cummins. They brought in Shardall. They got Lockie Ferguson back.
But you've got to look at it and probably honestly assess that and say they've answered the wrong question to some extent with those trades, haven't they? Like I don't know. I don't know. I am very negative on this team. I can't really think of anything good to say apart from I like Dre Russ. Sunil Narine might be the best off spinner in the world. Probably is the best off spinner in the world in T20 cricket. That's also good, but he doesn't really bat anymore. So that doesn't solve the main problem that they have, which is their top 6 is.
You've just reminded me, talking about Sunil Narine, of his fielding experience last year.
I guess that's why you can't.
Quick singles will be available to any fielder on the KKR side.
I remember the first year of the 100, Will Smead smashed this, just shot straight at him, and like literally just stood there, went about 6 inches one side of him.
I think this might be. This might be the thing that Ross is remembering from Sunil Narine's fielding. I remember watching that on TV and finding it absolutely hilarious. There's a great still frame of it as well, of the ball literally bouncing a foot to his right, and he's just looking at it with his hands on his hips, just looking at it.
Maybe they'll put Rinku Singh right next to him. Maybe they'll have 2 square legs or something like that, just to make up for it.
Anakul Roy is this impact substitute as well. He's an absolute jet fielder.
Oh,
so using your impact substitute purely for fielding? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly.
Is that the intention of the rule?
It wouldn't surprise me if they did do that.
It might work.
Max, what's the likely 11 for these boys?
Right. So what I've got written down, you may disagree, and if you do, please throw your hat in. But sort of given what we were saying, it's a little tricky to work out exactly what it's going to be. I've gone Venki Iyer, Lytton Das. I've got Shreyas Iyer in there, but that may well not happen. Nitish Rana, Rinku Singh, Dre Russ, Sunil Narine, Shardul Thacker. I've gone Lockie Ferguson, Umesh Yadav, and Varun Chakravarti. Without Lockie Ferguson, they've really got nothing with the ball past about the 6th over pace-wise. Maybe Shardul Thacker.
Umesh Yadav was good last year.
He was in the power play. Nothing with the ball past like the 6th over, seam-wise. So I'm not backing their death bowling. Lockie Ferguson's can be a bit hit and miss, but I think you've got to try and get that express pace in there. Otherwise, they're in real trouble. But I don't know if either of you disagree. Maybe Shakib will play. Maybe we won't see Lockie.
Well, that's the thing. It's a trade-off between the two, surely. I mean, it's hard to see anyone else missing out. Russell and Narine are going to be pretty much inked into the starting 11 at all times. They're going to need, and almost certainly going to need, an overseas keeper. So it looks like Shakib versus Lockie for game time. And I think Max, that team you gave, was pretty well balanced actually in terms of what they might do, and especially obviously they spent a lot of money on Lockie and bought him for the auction as well. So you would imagine that their management think so highly of him that he will somehow be sort of shoehorned into this 11. But it's tricky. And if you pick him, you either go no Shakib or you go no overseas keeper and you play Jagadisan. But I think you'll probably come in for Shreyas Iyer now.
I think so, yeah.
So that complicates things even more. Definitely, I wrote my Substack before. I think this is one of the most difficult starting 11s to predict.
Is it so bad?
There's a bit of that, definitely. There's like 13 players who are going to fight for 11 spots, and then other players are just going to sit on the bench.
I mean, you feel like if a team's been well put together, then the 11 may not necessarily pick itself, but like the roles pick themselves, and then you can say, okay, well, look, maybe, for example, say, okay, well, let's go Sunrisers in because you'll all forget about that by the time I get there because that's the last one. You might say, okay, well, Adil Rashid
spoiled that, hasn't he?
But surprise. But you'll say, okay, well, but someone else like coming for him who just does the same thing. With KKR, it's like you don't know who's going to play, but if someone doesn't play, then they get replaced by someone who does a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And then you have to juggle it around. It's all very confusing.
Right. Last two things. Patrons thought these people were going to finish bottom of the league.
Dead last.
Do we agree? And then second, because this is kind of the season of injuries, I'm calling it the season of injuries because there's a lot of people out. And as we go through, not necessarily on this team, but on some of the other teams, they've been quite badly hit. I want a player that might come in that we don't really know of that could stun the world by taking an opportunity. I'm going to hold my cards up. I don't know if do you hold your cards? I'm going to say that I think they will finish bottom. They were my choice to finish bottom.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'd agree.
Yeah,
so
I put them bottom when I did the list as well.
I'm kind of thinking we need to hear what else is in offer, right? We're kind of just comparing on this one at the moment. I'm kind of thinking I need to hear some arguments from you guys around some of the other teams because I might not agree. I think these guys, yeah.
So you're not sure. You think they might do a bit better?
I think they are not playoff contenders, especially like Shreyas Iyer isn't the be all and end all of T20 cricket. But if you literally don't have him in your in this lineup, they might as well have just kept Ajinkya Rahane.
I think when I say they're going to finish bottom, I think you're trying to categorize teams somewhat, aren't you? There's the teams you think are really going to compete. There's the teams you think aren't going to compete, and then there's a quite a lot of teams in the middle that could finish seventh, could finish third. These are one of the teams that I think will be in the. I think it is unlikely they will make the playoffs, and I can't see many routes to playoff dom for them.
Yeah,
it's just a team where you look at them and you think for them to make the playoffs. I mean, like you want to try and work out envisage a way of how they're going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and it's literally going to be some really high variance, like one-off performances from players like Dre Russ hitting 70 off the last 4 overs or something like that to win matches, or Narayan getting everyone in a spin, or Charlotte Teko getting lucky and getting 30 wickets from being playing boundary, something like that. You know, do you know what I mean? Though, like it's not easy to foresee, and you know, ultimately, even a match-winning player like an Andre Russell, he doesn't win you that many games, especially not the 2023 version of Andre Russell. So, you know, if he won them 2 games, I think that's a really decent return. But you know, that's a lot to ask of him to do much more than that.
Agreed. And I think over the elongated season, right, with 10 teams in it, this team just doesn't scream that they are fit to me. They are all they are fitness wise over the hill as cricketers.
Tortoises.
They are. That is a
250-year-old giant tortoises.
They're going to have to spend a lot of money on physios, ice baths, and cryogenic machines to see how this works.
Well, Punjab Kings got some money knocking around. Maybe they can lend them some for that.
Does the Knight Rider itself, the car, possibly come in here? Help out? Does that do?
Is that the super sub? The Knight Rider?
Does that have
car?
A massage setting or something like that? They use after games. I know, right? And a player, right? Finish off a player that you think might do well, Max. Go
on. Let's go with Brinku Singh. Why not? He's going to step up to the plate. He had a good end of the IPL last year, and someone's going to need to save the top order. So I'm going to say it's going to be him.
Cool. Right, that's part 1 done. We're going to move on to the next team after a break.
Do we not get a one to watch each?
Oh, you can have one. You can have a one to watch.
You can have one, Dan.
Yeah, go on, Dan. Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So I think Marika Singh's fine, and I'm thinking he could have the skills to upskill. Definitely. I like the vibe of Aurora, who we had at PBKs last year, power play specialist, and I think that with the new impact player rules, it potentially could be him and Umesh Yadav doing some bowling in tandem in that phase, and he got a lot of swing last year, although perhaps lacked a little bit of control. But the upside and the skills are there, so one to watch.
And he wore a mask.
No, that was Rishi Dhawan.
That was Rishi Dhawan.
Oh, was it him? All right, well, there we go.
Nice one, Ross. Anyway, on that note, part 1 done.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.